In 1961, Harry Chief Simmons led Pueblo Junior College to the National Basketball Championship. Our next inductee hails from Pueblo, just 40 miles down the road from here. Harry the Chief Simmons started coaching in Pueblo when Chuck Taylor high tops and set shots were the norm, and he stopped coaching when high-flying alley-oop dunks were the norm. For 5 decades, from the 1940s to the 1980s, the head basketball coach in Pueblo was simply known as the Chief.
When you refer to old school, Harry Simmons was not just old school. He built the old school. He built the gymnasium in the old school.
Dave Socher was the basketball beat writer for the Pueblo Chieftain during Simmons' coaching days.
Harry had this kind of stature. People believed in what he said. For example, I can remember sitting in his office. You know how writers hang out, we chat, you know, you chew the rag. The phone rings from North Carolina. It's Dean Smith. The phone rings from Washington, D.C. It's Dick Motta. The phone rings, it's from Texas. It's Darrell Royal. I mean, this is the kind of thing that you have to understand. Harry was not only Pueblo, he was not only Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. He was national in scope.
In his 35 seasons, Harry Simmons won more than 600 games between Pueblo Junior College, Southern Colorado State, and USC. His teams made 11 national tournament appearances, and in 1961, Simmons coached PJC to the national championship, but his legacy lives with his players.
He would show me photographs of his teams, and he would point with pride to them. Not that this guy scored 20 points or that guy got 20 rebounds, but he would point to them and say, dentist, doctor, engineer, bank president. This is what he molded these young men to be.
Early in his career, Simmons took a 2-year coaching hiatus when he was called to serve in World War II.
And this was a guy who was with the assault force, the Marine assault force, that hit the beach at Iwo Jima. Okay? Did that give you any idea what a tough nut this guy was? I mean, he was a Marine. He lived as a Marine all his life. He was a leader.
The Chief was also the athletic director during much of his reign in Pueblo. Simmons has been inducted into 7 different Hall of Fames, and the RMAC Men's Basketball Coach of the Year is called the Harry Chief Simmons Award.
I congratulate the selection committee, because tonight, when you induct Harry Simmons into the RMAC Hall of Fame, you turn that into a shrine.
We're now joined by Jim Simmons, the son of Harry Simmons. And Jim, your father, I think this is his 8th Hall of Fame that he's being inducted to. How did he feel about all the acclaim and praise that he got over the years?
Well, he was very honored, but I think one thing about my father, he always pointed back at the people that surrounded him, his assistant coaches, his players in particular, administrators. He was just very proud to be where he was.
And the piece that we just saw, Dave Socher mentioned that your father was friends with some pretty big hitters, had some pretty good contacts in the world of sports, but yet he stayed all those years in Pueblo. Do you have some insight as to why he never made that jump to maybe a larger school?
Well, listening to he and my mother speak from time to time, and I know some interesting discussions went on around the kitchen table when he had opportunities to move. But there were 4 kids in the family, and he wanted us to have a little stability and be in the same high schools and junior highs and grade school or whatever. And he had a lot of friends in Pueblo, and as did my mom or whatever, and it was a great place to grow up.
Now, your father, I believe, coached from the late 1930s all the way up to 1980, and that transition, we said, from the Chuck Taylor high-top set shots to the high-flying slam dunks. Looking back on it, all those years of coaching, what do you think your father's legacy is?
Well, I think his legacy would be the fact that most of the kids that he coached came from the Southern Colorado area. I know the 1961 national championship team, I played the year after for him. Had an opportunity to do that, but most of those kids on that team came from Pueblo and Southern Colorado. So he was proudest of the fact that he had some great stellar performers.
And your dad also saw the school go from Pueblo Junior College to Southern Colorado State to the University of Southern Colorado. He was the AD, I believe, during much of that stretch. So maybe that's a part of Harry that maybe gets kind of overlooked is his work as an administrator and seeing those transitions through.
Yes, back there, the program's going from almost nothing when it was a junior college or whatever, and then the struggles to, through the boosters clubs and stuff like that to get funding, nothing like it is today. But it was really tough getting the funding to do a lot of those things.
That is Jim Simmons, the son of the late Harry Simmons, RMAC Hall of Fame, class of 2006.
On behalf of the Harry Simmons family, Bodie Simmons, and the entire brood of us, I would like to thank the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference for the recognition which you have bestowed on my father and his legacy to athletics in the Rocky Mountain region. It is with a great honor that I speak on behalf of Harry this evening, and I promise no bleeps during the conversation. We would like to share our thanks to each and every person who was responsible for his selection as a member of your Hall of Fame. We see this award as a symbol of my father's lifetime of commitment to athletics in the Rocky Mountain region. Harry's association with the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference began as a player at the University of Colorado when CU was a member of the RMAC. So it seems fitting to accept this award this evening as a full circle recognition of his athletic career. As a coach and administrator, my father was known throughout the country as an advocate for athletics and for student athletes. His mentoring extended not only to his players, but to his counterparts as well. Even after his retirement from the University of Southern Colorado, I recall that Dad spent many an hour on the phone with friends and associates in the athletic arena, sharing stories and conferring with new coaches on his experiences both on and off of the court. Dad's legacy was never more evident to me than at his memorial service in 1990. The church was filled with family, friends, past players, members of the news media, and representatives from throughout the Colorado athletic community. Even many of the officials who refereed his basketball games were in attendance. Who would have thought that at a Harry Simmons funeral that Irv Brown, the ref, would close the ceremony? As Irv said, if he knew that a ref was closing this thing out, he wouldn't have gone. No way. But that was the way that it should have been. No matter what side of the court you were on during the game, my dad made sure that you shook hands afterwards and went forward from there. That being said, I would like to thank Paul and Wanda Breckler for their friendship to the Simmons family throughout the years. As the commissioners of the RMAC, Paul and Wanda were not only worked professionally with my father, but they became his very dear friends. If I am sure, Wanda, if Paul were here tonight, he could share many a story of friendly suspensions and fines levied against my father for his colorful behavior on the court. And I'm even more certain that if Harry were here tonight, he would just counter Paul's story by saying he was just trying to have some fun. Athletics was a way of life in the Simmons household, thanks to my father's passion for his profession. My mother was known for her care and feeding of Harry's teams. My brother Jim played basketball for my dad, and my brother Tim kept stats, while my sister and I were always on the sidelines, cheering the Chief and his Indians on to victory. If Harry were here tonight, he would congratulate each one of this year's inductees, and he would be humbly appreciative of this award. He would most certainly encourage each of you to continue to be advocates for the promotion of athletics in the Rocky Mountain region via the RMAC. Our thanks for this recognition.